Sup you beautiful people. Hope you've had a fantastic day. Welcome back to another new episode of What If Naruto was the conqueror of the Shinobi world. If you guys enjoy this what if, comment down below and let me know. And go ahead and check out other what ifs in the channel after watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like, and also share this video with your friends. So now let's start this video. Anko. 1 month later. The Shinomori was filled with the noises of combat, forest of death. It sounded like two people were fighting with fists and kicks. Anko and Naruto were the two individuals. Anko wasn't wearing her trench coat because she had misplaced it during the battle. As Naruto flew towards her, Anko braced herself. He made a large number of them using the bunshin clone technique. Anko cursed and remained vigilant. Naruto could now assault her from any angle. She didn't have to wait long before a streak of fire appeared behind her. She jumped out of the way, exactly as Naruto had instructed. In midair, he seized her with a flying tackle. He instantly spun her around and slung her into a tree with a shoulder throw. Anko slammed into the tree and gasped. Naruto smirked with delight at his win until he saw Anko transform into a log. As he was revealed, he cursed, which Anko took advantage of. 4 snakes wrapped themselves around Naruto and dragged him to the ground. With a thud, he landed on the ground. Anko drew him closer, and when he was close enough, she pressed a kunai against his throat. "It's a win for me." Anko spoke up, but in a sleepy tone. "Okay, you've won. Get these snakes off of me now. Will you utilize the Senijashu, hidden shadow snake hands? Why do you keep using venomous snakes?" Naruto was ecstatic. "Stop being a baby, please. They're not going to nip at your heels," Anko remarked. "That's what you said the previous time." Anko simply smirked and let him go. For a while, the two sat and rested. When she looked at Naruto, she couldn't help but be proud of how far he'd come in just a few months. His chakra control was far superior to that of his classmates. His taijutsu has also developed significantly. She taught him the fundamentals of the Hibi snake fighting technique, but warned him against using it around Konoha. His ninjutsu was particularly impressive. He was able to do the 3 academy jutsu, as well as a few of others that she demonstrated. He knew the Kaiten, Raku no Jutsu, Fire Release, Dragon Fire Technique, and the Doten. Dachaijo no Jutsu, Fire Release, Dragon Fire Technique, Earth Release, Underground Projection Fish Technique. Last but not least, he was able to detect and dispel genjutsu. She also enhanced his deception, infiltration techniques, and awareness. Naruto, she could argue, was far superior to even a chunin like Iruka. Of course Anko knew Naruto could perhaps beat her, but held back every time against her for some reason. Anko ate her sweats in delight. It had been a month now, and sometimes she still couldn't believe it. Despite feeling free now, she just couldn't explain with words how she felt. Since that cursed day, she always felt that someone was spying on her, like an ugly feeling behind her head, as if the monster was still controlling her. Despite how many times telling herself that he wasn't here, she couldn't make the feeling disappear. Her nightmares didn't help. They keep showing her the night her life became hell. His laughter at her. And now, Anko felt like a free bird. She felt like she could fly everywhere. Even her friends like Kurenai and Yugao had commented that her face looked brighter, almost like a sun shining in her face. Even common people around the village seemed to have noticed her sudden change in attitude. Even the Hokage seemed to have noticed it, and had asked what had made her so happy. Anko had wanted to tell the truth, but she had said nothing. Naruto hadn't told her to either tell or not tell the Hokage the truth, but Anko knew from the way Naruto acted towards the Kage, him hiding his true strength was a clear sign of her student not trusting them. In a way Anko understood him. The kid was an orphan, and the Kage had denied any clan head from adopting Naruto. She knew if her blonde student knew of that information, he would most likely betray the village. Anko, of course, knew that because of Yugao, who was an Anbu, who often spoke about it. The snake mistress would often talk about Naruto with either Kurenai or Yugao, about him being an excellent student. One night Yugao had spilled the beans, telling about the Hokage denying any clan head. To say Anko had been disappointed was an understatement. And the reason he had denied it was not to cause unbalance. Anko had almost yelled at the top of her lungs in anger. The Kage was the one in charge. Why should he care if the clans complain if this other clan has adopted Naruto? Anko told Yugao the same thing, especially stating that she was disappointed with the Hokage. To her surprise, Yugao had not tried to protect him, had just kept silent. Right now, Anko had decided to tell Yugao and perhaps Kurenai the truth. She was wearing a coat that covered her shoulders. One couldn't see the mark was missing, unless she took the coat off. After she had been free, after that long night of pain, opening her eyes, she blinked once and twice, the memories of what happened last night fresh in her mind. For a moment she wondered if all of that was a dream. Her throat became dry. Biting her lower lip, her hand went to her shoulder, expecting to feel the usual heat of the mark in her skin. But to her surprise, she felt just her skin, no heat. Gasping, she felt her eyes welling, and her body immediately stood up, removing her jacket to see the mark was gone. She checked multiple times to see if the mark was truly gone, and she wasn't just dreaming. She felt a smile on her face, the biggest smile. Her heart beating in her chest, her body felt like a feather, ready to fly away with the wind. You're free from him. I'm indeed free. I am free, she screamed at the top of her lungs, not caring if people thought she had lost her mind. Her legs kept bouncing up and down, her arms raised in the air, as she kept crying and laughing. I'm free, free, she yelled. Anko couldn't remember how long she had run around her apartment, maybe minutes or hours. She didn't know and didn't care. Suddenly she remembered Naruto, wearing her jacket. She left through the window. Anko had found him much to her surprise in his apartment, almost sure that he would be in the training yard at this point. Walking inside, Naruto looked to be focused on a blank scroll in front of him, a brush by his side with dark color. Naruto lifted his head to see who came inside, but Anko already engulfed him in a tight hug, bone-crushing hug. Thank you, she repeated over and over again, kissing both of his cheeks, making Naruto turn red like fire. I can't breathe, Naruto muffled out, being choked by her well-developed assets. She let go of him. Naruto's face had turned blue as he kept trying to catch his breath. I'm sorry, Naruto-kun, she apologized, but he just brushed it off, saying he was fine. That day Anko and the following day, she had bought Naruto anything he wanted, but he had just said that he didn't do it for that, but Anko had insisted on it. In the end, they ate ramen together to Ichiraku. Anko had asked Naruto how he had found out about the Kyuubi sealed inside it. The blonde told her that everyone called him Fox Demon and other names that linked him with the fox. Only a fool wouldn't get it by now. Anko had seen there was probably more to it, but hadn't asked anything, therefore, she had kept quiet. Naruto. He was currently lying on the grass as he was tired from his private training of doing chakra control, and keeping the balance of 10 kunai around his fingertips. Anko had drilled into him the art of deception, and he followed that advice to the letter. Of course, the real Naruto was actually somewhere else entirely doing real training with Kurama's chakra. As popped up to his feet and was about to go at it again, he felt that he was being watched. He zeroed in on where he was getting the feeling and threw kunai at the spot. He heard a small squeak and rushed over to the area. He saw someone and immediately tackled the person. He spun the intruder on their back and faced them. He was surprised to see the girl from his class. Hey, your name is Ino, right? Naruto asked. Ino could not answer him as she was currently out cold. Naruto was very confused as to why she lost consciousness. A gentle groan and the fluttering of eyes signaled the awakening of one Ino. She sat up and realized that she was on a couch. She recognized the couch as it belonged to her father, Yamanaka Inoichi. She was wondering how she got here when her mother came out of her kitchen. Following her was her crush, Naruto. She was a little red in her cheeks. Her mother just smiled at her while Naruto looked confused. Hey, is her fever coming back? Naruto asked. I don't believe so. How are you, Ino? Her mother asked. I am fine. How did I get here? Ino asked. You have to thank young Naruto here. He was carrying you toward the hospital when we ran into each other. Her mother explained, pointing towards the blonde who looked embarrassed by her praise. Yeah, I guess I startled you into your fainting when I threw that kunai. Sorry about that. Naruto said. It's alright. Ino said. What were you doing there anyway? Naruto asked with a confused look, playing the ignorant again. The little blonde knew from the feelings he got from her, that perhaps the beautiful blonde girl perhaps liked him. Naruto had nothing against it, but wondered if Ino would actually like to train and perhaps be an actual kunoichi, and not lazing around every day. Ino wasn't sure how to answer. She had been very interested to see Naruto after his big talk in the academy about fuinjutsu art and chakra control exercises. Her mother seemed to have noticed that her daughter's lips were locked. I think my daughter was impressed by your little speech, her mother spoke, making Ino blush a bright red. Naruto just raised an eyebrow. Yesterday he had kinda shamed the whole academy system right in front of everyone for excluding fuinjutsu level 1 exam and walking on tree, not being part of it anymore. Deciding to change the subject. So, you use that style of yours, right? What is it called? Oh yeah, it's called the Yamanaka dance, right? Naruto asked. Yes, but I'm not that good at it. Ino said. She had kinda tried to come up with her own style of taijutsu, since Shikamaru always told her that Naruto respected strength and wisdom above everything. Shikamaru and Choji were the ones who spent most of the time with Naruto in the academy, therefore Ino had asked them what could she do to impress him. Ino had seen many girls who liked Naruto in the academy, especially the Hyuga girl who looked ready to faint the moment he was close. In some cases, she even did. From that Ino had understood that Naruto valued something else in a girl and not just looks. Hinata was quite pretty and somehow cute, but Naruto hadn't paid her any attention. With that knowledge, Ino had asked Shika what to do to impress Naruto. Her friend told her to perhaps train to become stronger or become very smart. Well, you won't get good unless you practice. Say, how about, as an apology, we train together after school? Naruto suggested. Really? Ino asked with surprise. Sure, you don't act like the typical student. You seem nice. Why don't we train together? Naruto said. Ino couldn't be happier. It was a start that she could work on. Her mother was happy for her. She knew how much Ino admired the blonde Jinchuriki and would help her any way she can. I think that is a great idea. You can both grow from training from each other. Who knows, you two might become friends, added her mother, sending a wink at her daughter. This made both of them smile. Ino smiled because it would mean that she would be spending time with her crush. Naruto smiled because he might be gaining a new friend and perhaps a strong one if she took it seriously. After 1 month, the real Naruto was lying a few feet away from Shikamaru and Choji. They had decided to cut class today and made their escape thanks to Naruto. You know Shikamaru, I can see why you like doing this. It is kind of relaxing, Naruto said. See, I know what I'm talking about, Shikamaru said. You're still a lazy ass though, Naruto added. This only got him a menkusei, how troublesome, from the lazy Nar. Naruto just smirked and kept looking at the sky. How did he ever become friends with the laziest person ever was a surprise to him, Shikamaru and the whole academy. It began over a game of shogi, General's board game. Flashback. Naruto was eating lunch with Ino. It had been a month since the two started training, and they had become very fast friends. They learned things about each other and helped each other. Ino helped Naruto how to know everything about everyone. To the blonde it sounded like Ino could become an amazing spy. Naruto helped Ino become stronger and more agile. Both enjoyed the friendship and were becoming best friends. They suddenly turned to a commotion. They watched as two guys were dragging someone else away from two other guys. Naruto instantly knew the two as Choji and Shikamaru. He wondered why the guy was so angry about. What do you think is going on, Ino? Naruto asked. He must be angry with Shikamaru. He must have won again in shogi, Ino said. Shogi? He asked. It's a game, but you would find it quite boring, she answered. It can't be that boring. Can you teach me how to play? Naruto asked. What are you planning, Naruto-kun? Ino asked. She was wary of the grin on his face. A week later, Naruto walked up to the two friends with Ino in tow. The Yamanaka heiress had tried hard to deter Naruto's idea, but she knew how stubborn he can be. Naruto stood in front of Shikamaru. The lazy Nara gave him a bored but curious glance. Hey Shikamaru, how about a game of shogi? Naruto asked. Choji almost dropped his chips after he said that. Shikamaru was now aware of things. He sighed and pulled out his shogi board. Naruto grinned and sat down in front of him. Shikamaru didn't understand what he was so happy about. When everything was set up, Shikamaru made the first move. Naruto quickly made his move and waited. Shikamaru made another move, and Naruto made another quick move. This continued for 5 minutes, and a small crowd appeared. It would be another 5 minutes and the two were still playing. The crowd had gotten a little bigger, and it included Iruka. Everyone was amazed that Naruto had lasted this long against Shikamaru. The young Nara had a very annoyed look on his face and was glaring at the board. He couldn't understand how it got this way. This was supposed to be a quick victory. Naruto didn't have any plan. He would just move a piece as quick as possible. He barely gave the move any thought. Still, he was gaining some sort of ground, and it frustrated him to no end. Naruto was having the time of his life. When Ino had first showed him how to play, he was bored. He decided to put his own spin on the game to suit him. It wasn't actually a strategy. He would just move his pieces quickly and without thought, or that's what he wanted others to believe. Each piece moved because Naruto knew it would move like that. It's far better to make the enemy think that the ideas he had gotten were on his own free will, rather than being forced into that idea. He kind of enjoyed the frustrated look on Shikamaru's face. It only made his grin wider. After a while longer, Iruka told them that the lunch period was over. He looked over the game and saw that the two were in a stalemate, and there would be no clear winner. Naruto stood up and held his hand out. Shikamaru looked at the hand. That was a good game. We should do this again, Naruto said happily. Shikamaru looked at the hand before shaking it. He gave a small grin. Sure, we should do this again, Shikamaru said. Present. Naruto was quite famous amongst academy and even amongst Hokage council after his little speech about fuinjutsu. Many students in the academy thought Naruto was actually cool and not a scary monster. With the good came the bad. Sakura seemed to yell that he was trying to be as cool as her precious Sasuke-kun. She was totally devoted to Uchiha Sasuke and barely did any physical work. Then one day, she came up to his face and demanded that he stopped hanging around with Ino. When he heard the reason, he was disgusted with how shallow she really was. Stop trying to be as cool as Sasuke-kun, Sakura yelled at him, her face red with anger. Ino rolled her eyes at her stupidity. She knew herself wasn't that good, but Naruto had made sure to train her beyond recognition. She heard from his own mouth, saying that if he wasn't fast enough, the Kumo Shinobi would have killed him. 3 years ago, the thought of dying had frightened Ino, convincing her that training more wouldn't hurt. Why should I give a shit what you say or think? Now get off my face before I make you go crying home, Naruto spoke with a mocking tone, getting annoyed. Sakura got even angrier. She raised her fist ready to hit him, when his eyes suddenly became cold. Not the usual blue like ocean, but they became like ice. Sakura felt cold, real cold, so much that her body started whimpering. Sakura had walked away without a word. Since that day, she had been as silent as a grave. The other problem was Uchiha Sasuke, who was a pain in the ass and the most arrogant bastard in the class. He thought that everyone was beneath him and mostly kept to himself. Despite the waves of girls that kissed his feet, he was still cold to everyone. Naruto thought that he had the ego the size of the monument. They never got along and never would. Naruto began to see him as an annoying person who didn't like being overshadowed by those he deemed weaker than him. Naruto didn't really care. Sometimes the blonde couldn't fathom how a woman as gentle and kind as Mikoto could give birth to such an idiot, full of himself. Anko looked at the Hokage with surprised eyes. That quickly changed into worry, which was caught by the Hokage and his advisors. Is something wrong, Anko? Hiruzen asked. I don't have an issue with the mission, but I was hoping for something that could be done within a day or two. The mission that you're sending me on will take at least a week. Anko said. You never complained before about time. Is there something more important than this? Asked Hare. Anko bit back a remark to the elder woman. She was pretty sure that she knew about how close she was to Naruto. It wasn't that much of a secret anymore that the two trained together. Many, who have crossed the blonde, had to deal with her. It was something that both of the elders did not like. She always kept tabs on Naruto's progress while he was in the academy. Iruka was very forthcoming in answering her questions despite the fact that he seemed nervous around her. She was happy to know that he was the best. I just wanted to train Naruto in something, but whatever, Anko spoke, trying to come up with a lie, not wanting to say the real reason. Hiruzen caught Anko's attention. I know that you will want to train him, but this is priority. He told her. Anko sighed and realized that he was right. Very well, sirs, I accept this mission. Anko said with a sad tone. You have an hour to meet your team at the gates. Hiruzen told her. That perked her up. She bowed and quickly left the office to find Naruto. Later, Anko found Naruto easily as he was at his favorite place, Ichiraku Ramen. She entered the stand and greeted the two chefs. Naruto was happy to see her and offered her some ramen. Sorry kiddo, I have a mission in the next 20 minutes. Anko said. Oh, okay, why are you here? The training won't start until tomorrow. Naruto started looking up at her. I'm sorry Naruto-kun, but I have a long mission ahead of me, so I won't return for at least a week, she responded, letting him know that he needed to delay it. Naruto just shrugged his shoulders. It wasn't a big deal after all. Don't worry Anko, we can continue training after you return, Naruto spoke standing up. Very well, see you later, Anko said waving at him before disappearing. Later. Night. Naruto stood alone in his apartment, his legs in a crossing position, his eyes suddenly opened revealing his Rinnegan, shining in the darkness like a crystal. Naruto raised his right hand, his palm open towards a vase. Shinra Tensei. Many legendary ninjas have been born in the village hidden among the trees over the years, and the village has been home to many of them. There's the third Hokage Hiruzen Tsurutobi, also known as the god of Shinobi and the professor, and then there's everyone else. He was taught by the previous two Hokages, and was an S-rank shinobi by the age of 14, when he was elevated to the position of Hokage. Then there were the Sannin, also known as the legendary three ninja, Orochimaru, Jiraiya, and Tsunade, all of whom had legendary abilities and summons. After surviving a battle with Hanzo of the Salamanders, they were lauded as legends and S-rank ninjas across elemental nations. Tsukumo Hatake, also known as the White Fang of the Leaf, was a genius shinobi who was supposed to be stronger than the Sannin. Minato Namikaze was a once-in-a-generation genius who was a disciple of Jiraiya of the Sannin, and the fabled fourth Hokage. He is also a once-in-a-generation genius. The famed Yellow Flash, as he is affectionately known. Naruto Uzumaki, a tiny blonde orphan, was coming up to the ninja academy when he saw Naruto Uzumaki. Hiruzen, unlike everyone else, could see the potential that lay ahead of him, a potential that no one else could see. He truly believed that people like Naruto could rise to the position of Hokage in the future, and perhaps achieve the goal he had wished to achieve, but his time had passed, and all he could do now was pass the torch to the next generation, and hope for the best. Hiruzen reflected about this as he gazed out the windows of the village, wondering what the blonde was up to just now, the actual genuine one, not the clone that was typically present in the academy building. The only thing that could come out of his mouth was a humorless laugh, and as he looked at Minato's image, he recalled the speech his little surrogate grandson had given many weeks earlier. Naruto walked into the classroom early, like he often did. He returned to his seat towards the far end of the room, which had been his seat over the course of the previous 3 years. As he leaned his chair back, the would-be genin looked up at the ceiling with his eyes closed. It's been almost 3 years since I first walked into this class, and I've only made, 2 new friends. As he leaned the staff against the wall, he grinned and shook his head in amusement. The scroll containing the cinnamon buns was pulled out of a bag and sealed. He stood there and observed as the other students came into the room when Hinata walked through the door. Nanor Naruto, why you look Han-ha. The blonde guy blinked and attempted to figure out what Hinata was saying with her stuttering. Hinata's face became hot red, and she just dashed to her seat. Naruto just returned his gaze to Ino, who was sitting next to him on the desk. Hey, Ino, do you want some? Says the narrator. In response to a seal put on his scroll, Naruto inquired about gaining roles. Of course, Naruto, practically squealed as she took a bite of the first one, and her eyes shone brightly like new stars. It didn't take long for the blonde to devour another, since she had never before tasted anything so good. Can you tell me who the other three are for Naruto? As Shikamaru and Choji stepped through the door, Naruto inclined his head. The drowsy genius strolled up to Naruto's desk and took a seat in front of him. Naruto stood there watching as the youngster with the pineapple hair sank his head on the desk. The blonde student shook his head to attract the attention of his classmate, then grabbed up a roll of toilet paper. He placed it on Shikamaru's open hand before bending over and blowing directly into Shikamaru's ear with his whistle. The spike-haired adolescent sat straight upright, his hand reaching out to his ear for support. Unfortunately, he was completely unaware that he had anything on his palm and ended up flattening the cinnamon bun on his ear. Despite himself, he couldn't help but giggle at the sight of icing and cinnamon powder streaming from Naruto's ear. From behind them, the others could be heard chuckling. Naruto placed one hand on his hip placatingly and picked up a second roll. He put it directly in front of Shikamaru's face. The youngster grabbed the bottom of Naruto's coat and used it to clean the inside of his ear. He ignored the glare Naruto sent his way, and instead grabbed up his roll and chewed into it viciously. Naruto shook his head once more before returning to his desk and sitting down. He blinked and threw a roll over to Choji, who eagerly accepted it as a gift. When Kiba walked through the door, Naruto tossed a couple of rolls his way. Kiba had already consumed one and was about to bite into another when Naruto's voice stopped him. "Oi, dog boy, that one is for Akamaru," says Naruto. When Kiba looked away from him, he stroked the back of his head with a sheepish grin, and clutched the cinnamon bun behind his head. The roll was pushed down by a hairy snout that surged up. As the sounds of loud eating emanated from Shikamaru's hut, Kiba strolled up and took a seat next to him. "So, are you guys all set to go? We are faced with difficulties today. And I certainly don't want to come up short." He gave Choji a high five over Shikamaru's shoulder before turning his chair around and facing Naruto. "Is it possible for us to see you putting the ducks in his place once more? I know you've been holding back from the first day," Kiba said as he snapped his head around to face their group. Naruto took a few steps back and blinked. Everyone in the gathering was looking at him with hopeful expressions on their faces. "Doesn't Kiba speak for all of you, don't you think?" The boy groaned as they nodded their heads. "That's okay, that's fine. I'm going to take him down a peg or three. It shouldn't be that difficult, particularly if he's been demonstrating his abilities to the best of his abilities." He had a nasty smirk on his face. The blonde was well aware that they didn't exactly know his full power, yet, what he demonstrated was sufficient for him to be the best in the class despite the professors, with the exception of Iruka-sensei, attempting to sabotage him on multiple occasions. "So, who's up for placing bets on our teams?" Ino inquired as to whether or not they had begun wagering on who would be on the squad since the second year. Shikamaru was the only one who was successful in withdrawing money. Everyone others had seen the young genius make a wager, and had decided that they did not want any of it. Naruto flashed a smile. "Eyes, let's not be ridiculous. So, Shika, what do you think your chances are?" The trio of Ino, Shika, and Cho, Hinata, Kiba, and Shino should be grouped together, in my opinion. "You?" He stood there and watched as Naruto drew out an equal sum of money. "Given the way things have gone for me, I'd guess I'm going to be trapped with the Banshee and Duckus himself." Next to Naruto's and Shikamaru's piles was a third mound of books. The sound of Kiba's voice could be heard. "Naruto, not a chance. They wouldn't put you in a situation where you were going to murder two people. I propose that you be assigned to a squad that includes Shino and Shikamaru." Shino was in charge of collecting the money, and he indicated that he would determine who won based on his impartiality as a judge. Shikamaru's money was returned to him, since no one had really bet against him. Ino placed a bet on her and Naruto, and most likely on Shikamaru as well. Hinata had been deafeningly silent during it all, almost as if she didn't exist. When Iruka entered the room, the group was forced to disperse to their seats. When he arrived, the class immediately fell silent, terrified that he would employ the big head method on them if they didn't behave. Mizuki, with his silver hair, trailed behind Iruka by a few feet. The door at the front of the room was closed, so Iruka went to it, and Mizuki stood beside it. "Alright, today are the challenges. I want each of you to go to the training yard." After he finished speaking, Iruka gave a quick blink. There was no one in the room. He turned to gaze at Mizuki, who was whirling dizzily in his seat. "Iruka-san, I'm thinking they're a little nervous." In order to speak, the Chunin had to be standing. After that, he walked out of the classroom, leaving Iruka to glance around at all the vacant desks. They've all grown up, which is amazing. To think that after 4 years we could be receiving a fresh batch of ninjas to join our ranks is incredible. I'm curious to see which of them will go on to become genin. The spike-haired Chunin walked out of the room, his mind racing. The academy's practice fields. "Alright, class, the first bout is Kiba vs Tentronu," the announcer says. The youngster with the savage appearance jumped into the ring. A normal, unremarkable young man dressed in tans went into the arena with him as well. "Hey, instructor, what are the rules?" says one of the students. Iruka took a deep breath and inclined his head to the side. There's no jutsu, and there are no partners in these bouts. We're interested in seeing your physical fighting abilities. He nodded and murmured something into the hood of his hooded sweatshirt. Akamaru sprang out and trotted up to Shino, who scooped up the dog and placed him on his head. They both turned to watch as Kiba fell into a low squat in front of them. Drinor took the basic academy taijutsu posture, and some of his companions shook their heads in anticipation of what was about to happen. Alright, Hajime, you're in charge. Kiba jumped forward as Iruka's hand slipped to the ground. Kiba's leap was blocked by Drinor's swinging arm, and his other arm was ready to strike as he charged forward. In agony, his eyes widened as Kiba's right leg sprang up and crashed into the other boy's fist, before his foot lashed out and slammed into Drinor's stomach. Drinor was knocked unconscious. Drinor's arm was bloodied from the nails that remained in it after the youngster was thrown to the ground. He smashed into a tree outside the ring. Kiba landed on the ground and massaged the back of his head with a smug expression on his face. Wait a minute, did I go a little too far? Iruka gave a long shake of his head and blinked. To show Lord Hokage how easy the Academy Taijutsu style can be defeated, I must first demonstrate my own abilities. I mean, that was just humiliating. In the meanwhile, Kiba returned to his group of pals, where Shino gave Akamaru back to him. It seemed like the following several battles were just a blur, with the clan heirs handily winning their matches, albeit none were nearly as brutal as Kiba's. Chaoji's came dangerously close to winning the match, as his opponent almost threw up when the Akamichi lad tripped him, and leaped up to perform a body slam on his opponent. After everything was said and done, there was only one clan heir remaining who needed to be battled, and only one other pupil who hadn't fought yet. Alright, now it's time for the last match. Will Sasuke and the others? Iruka took a moment to go through the list he was holding in his hands. Will Sasuke and Naruto enter the ring? Says Iruka. The two youngsters took their places in the ring. Naruto's group of buddies were quietly crossing their fingers as they sat in the stands, eagerly watching the action. Sasuke was able to effortlessly transition into the Uchiha clan position. As Naruto took a few steps on the opposite side of the ring, his icy black eyes were fixed on him, his metal staff clutched in one hand. I hate you, Iruka-sensei. A weapon has been used by the dope. When the shriek reached Naruto's ears, he scratched the bridge of his nose. Iruka reacted before he had a chance to say anything. Sakura-sen. As long as the weapon is not thrown, it is entirely safe to use it. Please keep quiet for the time being so that we can get started. The girl made a low grumble beneath her breath before remaining silent. Hajime. When Iruka's hand came down, everyone tensed up, anticipating a replay of the frenzied start to the contest earlier in the day. Instead, neither boy made a move as Naruto and Sasuke locked gazes with one another. It's not too late to give up dope, says Sasuke. The youngster with the ebony eyes spoke in hushed tones. The attention of the crowd was drawn to Naruto to see how he would react to this. He leaned down and burst out laughing, much to their amazement. This was a surprising answer to Sasuke's insult, and he took a step back in surprise. Is the dope laughing at my expense? His pupils constricted as a wave of wrath washed over him. He sprinted forward, hoping to come to a halt just beyond of Naruto's reach, and cause him to overextend in an attempt to strike him. Naruto was clutching his staff, which was a mistake for the Uchiha, who had completely forgotten about it. After taking several steps back, the metal sprang forward and banged against his chest, knocking him a few steps back. He raised one hand and started stroking the affected area, a tiny wince in his throat. Naruto had not stopped giggling during the whole ordeal. While Sasuke was recuperating, the blonde-haired kid was able to keep his laughing under control for the first time. Duckus, you're absolutely correct. It is not too late for you to give up on your dreams. Naruto sat up straight and pulled his trench coat off his shoulders. Almost half of the metal's total length was pushed into the ground. Naruto climbed up onto the platform and looked down at Sasuke. This, Sasuke, is how much above you I am in terms of rank. It's not anything I would normally draw attention to, but his gaze drifted across to his companions, and he shrugged his shoulders. I was asked to make an exception since someone had requested it. As the Uchiha hissed and ran forward, his fist slashed into Naruto's legs, striking him in the ribs. Uchiha, please show me what you've got. Iruka-sensei. Can the Uchiha and I go all out and have you evaluate us on our performance in the other areas from this fight? The two lads turned to face Iruka, who smiled and nodded. When Naruto turned around to gaze at Sasuke, he was hit by a fireball that was rushing towards him. Naruto quickly dodged it. When Naruto's hand flew out and seized the staff on his left, Sasuke blinked in surprise. He prepared himself expecting his opponent to utilize it, and as Naruto hurled it out of the ring, he cocked his head in confusion as he looked about. Suddenly, Naruto drew a little black scroll from his pocket and nipped his thumb over the seal with the bleeding pad, preventing him from opening his lips in mockery. Naruto smirked as he grabbed the sword that had come from the void. We apologize, but my staff is a little awkward to utilize for my jutsu at the moment. That made Sasuke frown, and he moved his hand to a bag on his hip, where he put his hand down. A trio of shuriken were retrieved from his pocket, and he flashed them through a sequence of hand seals. Kaiten. Hasenka no Jutsu. says Sasuke. A trio of miniature fireballs erupt from his lips, and the shuriken is thrown exactly behind each one, completing the attack. As for Naruto, he flashed through his own set of hand seals as a distraction. When he heard Sasuke say, he couldn't help but smile. No, some genius hasn't even realized that yelling the name of his jutsu is really a genin move. Let's see how he responds to this proposal. Futon. Kamitachi no Jutsu, Kamitachi no Jutsu. After lashing his weapon to the ground, the blade-like shape of the wood unleashed a path of wind behind him. When the wind strike defeated the equal rank fire attack, Iruka and Mizuki's eyes widened as they realized what had happened. It was imperative that Naruto respond swiftly in order to deflect the shuriken that had been concealed beneath the flames. He dipped into his own bag and brought out a trio of shuriken that belonged to him. Okay, now it's my chance. Naruto hurled the weapons in unison and stood back to watch as Sasuke evaded them. In the blink of an eye, he had focused his will into the technique, sending the shuriken looping through the air and flying back towards him and the unsuspecting youngster. Sakura had been watching the weapons from the sidelines, her attention drawn to them by the gleam they emitted. She realized what Sasuke had missed, and she was about to issue a warning when a large hand clumped over her mouth and forced her to stop speaking. Chaoji's eyes were on her as she gazed up at him. Now, Haruno, please don't talk. In front of her face, he waggled a finger, and he kept his hand over his lips. Earlier in the match, Sasuke had cocked his head and shrugged his shoulders. As Blanc stood there, inviting an attack, he obliged by drawing a cluster of kunai from his satchel. Naruto produced a pair of hand seals, and then returned to his empty stare. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu Kawarimi no Jutsu is a kind of jutsu developed by Kage Bunshin. He shimmered for a brief period before settling, causing the Uchiha to blink as he threw the kunai, to which he responded with a smirk, as Naruto kicked a stone in the direction of his face. After then, the shuriken struck. Sasuke shouted as the metal prongs sunk their teeth into his skin, one in his shoulder and the other two thudding into the back of his thighs. Suddenly, he felt something pressing on his temple as he dropped to the ground and began to fight to his feet. Slam. You're no longer alive. When he raised his eyes, he noticed Naruto standing there. What? How? You were crushed by those kunai, as we saw. Naruto snorted as he raised his eyes to Sakura. It was a Kage Bunshin that you all saw being struck. Let's face it, your beloved Uchiha was defeated. Iruka smiled and nodded. However, you both come out on top in the trials that you set for yourself. How did Naruto's wind jutsu neutralize Sasuke's fire jutsu, I'm wondering? Naruto had a grin on his face. It's because Dukas made it weak. Naruto slipped the truncheon back into the seal scroll and extended his hand to the Uchiha in order to assist him in getting to his feet. When Sasuke smacked his hand away, Naruto just sighed. There was no point. Taking a step behind the other, the blonde-haired kid pulled his shuriken out of Uchiha's back before sealing them into a separate scroll. That means I'll have to clean them up before I can put them back with the others. He strolled up to his companions and gave them a thoughtful look. Well? Shikamaru smirked as he smacked him on the back of the neck. This is quite troublesome. Similar praises were received from the other participants. To pass the other exam, you had to toss kunai at a target. There were 30 targets, and you had 30 kunai to throw. If you managed to hit 3 of them, you have completed the task. For the blonde, the other exams passed him by in a haze, with his attention drawn solely to the fact that they had done nothing about fuinjutsu. As the professors went about their grading, the class was escorted back inside. Mizuki was the one who graded the second half of the group, whereas Iruka was the one who graded the first half. As soon as the tasks were done, Naruto was declared victorious, but the blonde was lost in contemplation. The Hokage had come to the school today to observe how the next generation would fare in the challenges, if you can call them that. Nothing more than fighting and throwing kunai at dummies was accomplished. Naruto was puzzled as to where the fuinjutsu challenge had gone. Why they hadn't been taught how to walk on trees yet. Can I ask you a question, Iruka-sensei? The shocked look on Iruka's face didn't mask his curiosity, and he indicated for Naruto to continue as planned. We took part in challenges including combat, history, and weapon throwing. What's the deal with fuinjutsu? Naruto inquired, practically grilling him, with a calculating expression on his face. Iruka shifted his weight slightly in response to the inquiry, as he was uncomfortable with the attention of his pupil. Fuinjutsu exams had been withdrawn from the academy system 7 years ago, Iruka said, expressing his displeasure with the decision, but acknowledging that he was unable to reverse it. After seeing the blonde's eyes narrowed slightly and his stare becoming ice, Iruka saw the room had become frigid, and that Naruto had given the Hokage an unblinking side glance that he didn't bother to disguise. Are you telling me that you withdrew the fuinjutsu art from the academy system? Naruto said with venom, his gaze now directed at the Hokage rather than at his instructor. Is that correct? Hiruzen opened his lips to say something, but his words were cut short as Naruto's strength extended farther across the class. Can you tell me, Iruka-sensei, what the purpose of fuinjutsu is? Naruto inquired, a sneer in his tone of speech. It is used to seal things, Iruka said, despite his own lack of understanding in the art of fuinjutsu, having not yet reached level 2 proficiency. To put it another way, it is the most straightforward way to describe it. Fuinjutsu is used for a variety of tasks, including transporting items across a field, fastening items, and applying a seal of blood to ensure that something is secure. Fuinjutsu may be used to make barrier seals, healing seals, and paper bombs, for example. It is easier and safer to transfer supplies during a battle by sealing the supplies, Naruto stated, his voice becoming louder and higher with each syllable he spit out while gazing at the audience in front of him. Everyone had come to a complete halt. Midou Uzumaki became the Jinchuriki of Kyuubi, thanks to the use of Fuinjutsu. How is a village supposed to survive if Fuinjutsu is not taught in academy? During his speech, Naruto paused to emphasize that the detection barrier that surrounds the village was formed using Fuinjutsu, but the blonde didn't mention it, since it wasn't public knowledge, and the Hokage might ask how he knew about it. Naruto continued. The fourth Hokage was a level 10 Fuinjutsu master. The only one remaining in Konoha is Jiraiya, the Sannin. He's still alive, but he's becoming old. Who will we have in his place once he passes away, or do you think he'll live forever? What will we do if Kyuubi strikes again, and how do you plan to seal him without the use of Fuinjutsu? Naruto ended his tirade since he realized there was little purpose in continuing. Hiruzen recalled that day well. The news had spread like wildfire, and the civilian council had moved quickly to demand that Naruto be punished. Even Koharu had expressed concern. Nevertheless, much to Hiruzen's astonishment, Danzo had said nothing negative about Naruto. However, it's possible that he was only acting in character. Hiruzen, on the other hand, was perplexed as to how Naruto had discovered that Midou Uzumaki had been a Jinchuriki. Naruto. After 2 weeks. Despite the fact that it was difficult, Naruto managed to keep himself under control by tying 3 tails behind his back, as Kurama had warned him would be the case. But the mere thought of why he was doing this caused him to stand up on all 4 limbs again, his blood-red eyes watching as small trees grew all around him, but not just the trees. The wind was flying all around him but not directly against his body, but more like it was caressing his skin. An exact replica of his body was slowly formed in front of him, and this was quickly followed by 4 additional wood clones. Due to the fact that the original was under Kurama's chakra cloak, the wood clones began creating their own chakra cloak with 3 tails, almost immediately after being created. However, unlike the shadow clones, the wood clones did not vanish into thin air. "Let's do this, Kurama," Naruto replied, a grin on his face, taking care not to utilize his Sharingan. Hokage Tower. The unusual group of people had gathered in Hiruzen Sarutobi's office. On one side of his desk stood none other than the Hokage, and a girl with long blonde hair. With just one look at her, Hiruzen Sarutobi could tell she was maybe 2 to 3 years older than Naruto. "It's a pleasure to have you here, Hokage Dono," says the Hokage. Thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoyed. If you want the next part of this video, like, subscribe and comment down below, and turn on the bell notification. And also check out other videos that I have created and enjoy. See you in the next video. Peace.